Hi, I'm Frances Frost. I'm a National PTA Board member and an active member in Maryland. I am a mom of four, three who have already graduated out of public school and one junior in high school. One of the misconceptions about fundraising in PTA is that fundraising is the primary purpose of PTA as opposed to a means to an end, to reaching our mission and funding our programs and activities that serve our mission. Instead, people think that fundraising is the primary purpose of PTA, and then our members and our schools focus on the fundraising for things as opposed to advocating and serving our children. And the other misconception, I think, is that every dollar raised has to support every child in the school, as opposed to the money raised should support the needs of the children in the school. So I think what happens is when we think that every dollar has to go to every child, we spend money that we may not need to. For instance, we make sure that the PTA has purchased a cupcake for every child or a birthday pencil for every child, as opposed to thinking about what do the children in our school need and how do we use our funding to meet that need, even if it's not a need of every child, but it's the greatest need in the school. PTA fundraising should support the mission of the PTA. It should support programming and activities that move our children forward, that support their needs in education and in development. So you might think of different programming. So for instance, if your school is doing a literature night or a reading night, perhaps you're fundraising for books to be given out to families that evening, or for an expert speaker to come in for a particular program. If you're having a music and arts night, maybe you want to have an artist in residence who's coming in to do programming. So if you're having an advocacy activity and you want to make posters, or I've seen PTAs who might reserve a bus to help parents to get to a board meeting or an advocacy event, or even a school bus to pick up parents to get them to the PTA meeting or back to school night. There's a common misconception that the principal of the school gets to decide where the PTA money goes. But the PTA, we have to remember, is an independent entity. It is a 501c3 organization. It is a membership organization. So it's the members who decide. Those people who are PTA members get to decide where the money goes. And this may include your principal and your teachers, right? Hopefully they're members of your PTA as well. Although your budget is presented and put together by your treasurer, you can still get input from your members. So it might be that every committee puts forth a budget and says, this is what the fifth grade parents committee wants to do, or this is what the after prom committee wants to do. Here's our different committees that we have. Family engagement, teacher appreciation, cultural night, ESOL support, and then you all can discuss, well, do we need that much money in programs, or we need some more money on the advocacy activities. And so you're having a dialogue, not only about the money that's being spent, but why it's being spent, what is the purpose that it's being spent, so that everybody understands the programming and the activities that's being supported by your budget. As you're doing that, you realize how much money you do need or you don't need, and then your fundraising is driven off of that. When you think about how much time you spend on your fundraising, it really depends on your PTA, what your fundraising goals are, and what the fundraising activities are. So the PTA that I'm in right now, that I've been in, our high school PTA, we do one fundraiser a year. We do it right now at the beginning of the school year until November, and then we're done. That's our fundraising activity for the year. And then the rest of the year we spend on activities and programs. Some PTAs do it different. Some have smaller events throughout the year because that's what their community can best support. So it depends on what the fundraising is and what your goals are. The important thing is being mindful that the fundraising activity is not the only thing that you're doing. It should not be the majority of your time and your primary activity. Some people use a 1 to 3 rule, like for every fundraising activity, they have 3 programs and activities. That could be a rule if it works for you. But you also want to think about the fatigue of your volunteers and your members. If you're having a fundraising activity every month, people are going to get tired, right? And you're going to see some that are not as well supported because people are tired of doing a fundraiser every month. So you want to think about all of these things to figure out what works best in your school and your community. So when you're thinking about making your fundraising more inclusive, think about what the actual activity is and who may not be able to participate. So I think about my elementary school was a Title I elementary school. We had a good percentage of families who received free and reduced lunch. But our fundraiser was like the gift wrap that was $30 a pack, or cheesecake that was $35 and $40 a box. And after a while we said, well, who can participate in this? Who can actually support this activity? And then when you think about children get prizes for sales, well then again, who's winning those prizes and who gets to sit on the sideline and not participate? And then also you might think about if it's an activity, who's being excluded, maybe because of the timing, or does it sit is it scheduled on Sabbath days? Is it scheduled during normal work hours so families can't participate in that way? And I think one of the things that PTAs can do also to not always focus on fundraising is look for other opportunities for fundraising other than the kids are selling something, right? Look at National PTA. We offer a lot of grants for programming. Look at the program materials that are offered by National PTA. Look at community partners who might be able to donate materials or support your activities in a way that you don't need fundraising. One popular way that I've seen PTAs distribute funds is through mini grants to their teachers. So different PTAs have different processes, but basically setting aside in your budget a particular amount of money that teachers can request or apply for to fund the activities in their school, in their classroom. Another way that PTAs can support each other is to make a donation to another PTA. As a 501c3 organization, you can make donations to others. But again, when you do that, you want to know why you're doing it. So maybe a PTA that's really good at fundraising, maybe they have excess fundraising. They know of a partner school or another school in their district where the PTA might need more funds for their programming and activities. So they can support that PTA, making a donation to them in cash, or making a donation to them in goods, or even maybe sharing a speaker with them, like a person who comes in and speaks, and sharing activities and things like that with them. So you can share across PTAs in that way. You do want to check, with your state PTA and make sure you're following all the laws. For PTA leaders, I would suggest that you really understand what your purpose of fundraising is. What are your programs and activities that you have going forward this year that need to be funded? And start there, right? Understand what it is that you need money for, and then build your fundraising to match that, so that You're not fundraising just for the sake of it. And also, when you promote your fundraising, you can tell your parents, we need you to support this fundraiser so that we can do X, so that we can pay for buses to pick up parents to come to the back to school night, right? That way your fundraising has a purpose, and your families understand why are they giving up their time and their resources to support this fundraiser.